Well, it's Wednesday. Dustin, what is going on? You look burnt out. Are you okay? He's burnt out. Man, oh man. There you are. I thought you were burnt out or something today,
I
but
mean, it's a perfect way to introduce our burnout show. Was
right.
a guy that's just absolutely burnt out from working harder.
Is that what your employees feel like at the end of the week? Is that
Yeah, that's what we all feel
they
like.
work hard, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, they do. We do. The whole team, man. I tell you, from everybody, every aspect. Our team works really hard, and they don't get enough credit for all the things they do. So shout out to them on this on Wednesday for our hardworking team. But I think that and bear with me, I'm a little nasally. I'm dealing with a little crud, but working through it. But the common or the popular word right now on the internet, on the World Wide Web, and it's going around is the word burnout, and that's a
Yeah.
conversation that's been had. And, there's a few different people talking about burnout, and I think it's a great conversation for you and I to have today. Talking about burnout and what you think it is, and kind of my take on it, and for two people that really do a lot of things, and I would I don't say that a lot because I don't like to bring much attention to that outside of just what we do set the bar high and we do
Yeah.
work hard. But let's talk about let's just start out. What you think burnout means in general? Like, how do you define burnout?
Burnout, man. It's for me it's like physically, mentally, emotionally, totally to the point where I just don't have the drive at that point. Like it's just I'm to the point where I just don't really care about what's going to happen, and it's a very dangerous situation to be in.
Yeah,
Because you put a lot of things just to the back of the back burner, and them things really still need to be worked on, but there's just no balance. I feel like there's no balance at that point, and that's something like what you say. There's a lot of individuals like maybe you and I that can relate to, because you have your family life, you have multiple businesses, you
yep,
have you know you have all your hobbies. Sometimes your hobbies are put to the
absolutely.
side, and then all of a sudden you get a sickness, because you're burnt out. Like, that's
Right.
part of all that, because you just don't give your body enough time to just have the time it needs for itself,
To rest and recover.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, similar. I have a similar take on burnout, and I definitely think it's a physical thing where you just feel depleted. I think you feel like we always say like it's never ending.
Mhm.
And that feeling of never endingness is burnout.
Yeah.
It's like I'm working harder, but I don't feel like I'm making any progress.
Right.
And so when I think about burnout, defining it is when you just worked and worked and worked and worked and worked, and you feel like you just can't work anymore, and nothing you do. It's almost like counterproductive. The harder you work, the less you get done,
Yeah.
and that's when you're in that stage. And so burnout to me is that it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional. When you just feel like you've reached to your point. And I will be real with you. I don't think that people are doing enough to get truly burned out. I
Mhm.
think that they feel those ways, and I think it's a good way to describe being tired and drained. But I think that you are not physically working that hard to burn yourself out. I think that you don't have a close enough goal and vision to where you feel like you're making progress, which makes you feel like you're going to do this an endless amount of time. And therefore, you start to put that feeling on yourself of burnout.
Yeah, and I think you raise a good point, because like that excitement's not there, right?
Mhm.
So when that excitement leaves, that's truly when you start feeling the burnout. But when you start something, like you have a goal, like maybe it's like the 75 hard, right? Like that we did. Um, the first 2 weeks were like 3 weeks were like, this is actually kind of easy, right?
Right.
Because we were excited, like it was a new change for us. It was a new challenge, whatever it may be. And think about that with your business or whatever it is too. Like you're gonna do PPF or you're gonna do window tint or whatever it is. And that first 3-4 weeks or couple months, there's that excitement. You're bringing
Yeah.
in revenue. You're bringing in the excitement of your employees or your customers,
Yeah.
and then you start losing that excitement, and that's when you start feeling that burnout. So it's 100%.
Yeah, it's real. It's real. And I don't want to take away from the people that feel that way. But in reality, I think it's real fixable too.
Yeah.
And I think when you think about a long run, you and I are both runners. We go for long runs. It's where we find our peace. A run without a target, a
Mhm.
run without an endpoint is almost impossible for
Yeah.
me. I can't go run an endless amount of time.
Right.
If I say today I'm going to run 15 miles, well, it's amazing when I get to 14.8 how tired I am.
Yeah.
10 when if I'm running 14.8, mile number 10 is just as hard as mile number 2.
Yep.
It's just as mile number 11. But when you get to 14.8, you're really thinking about stopping.
Yeah.
Okay. If I say I'm just going to run until I die today, I'm probably going to quit at 3 or 4
Yeah.
because you just you don't have that end in sight and you don't have that target in sight. And so when I think about people saying they're burnout, is I think that they really don't have a clear vision as to where they're going.
Right.
And it's that endless feeling of I just keep answering these phones, I keep doing this thing, I keep putting all this effort in, and yet I'm getting nowhere. But how do you know where you're going if you don't have an end in sight?
Yeah. And I think, part of that is having a goal or a task each day, right? That you can check off.
Yeah.
That was kind of what, back to 75, like being able to check off each part of that task each day. It was like you had an excitement. Like it was, my goal was, I want to check off as many of these tasks as I can, as fast as I can during the day. Like, it would just make me feel accomplished at that point. And that's what we need to do with business and life is, when we wake up today, what are our 5 tasks that we need to do, that we need to create? And let's make sure that we actually give ourselves credit for getting them tasks done. And it motivates you for the next day. It doesn't, that burnout doesn't happen as easily. So,
Yeah, and it's really easy to think about like what all you're doing wrong and what all you want to change within your company or your multiple companies. Like it's really easy to just sit here and go, man, I have so much to do. I don't do anything at all, or nothing that I'm doing is adding up to where I want it to be. But if we can say like, okay, I want to do this thing. I want my company to be this. And if I do these things daily, I know that it will get me to that point.
right.
All right. And then that's identifying those tasks that you do daily and then do those tasks repeatedly,
Right.
repeatedly. A lot of people try to fix everything at once, and you do a bunch at first and you feel a little progress, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're in the mud and a sickness comes onto you, or you're traveling and it kicks you off the wagon there, and then you stop. Right. And now you're back in this, doggy paddle, just trying to stay afloat kind of thing. And that is where that burnout happens. There was a study done. I hope I don't mess this up, but there was a study done with mice. I'm always bad at this stuff. And they put mice. They dropped a few mice in cups of water, right? And this is kind of morbid, but they did it. They ended up like the skeleton back here. The mice would swim, and they would swim and swim and swim and swim and swim until they died. Okay, and that would last like a day. Okay, or maybe it was like 8 hours or something. All right, they would swim, swim, swim. All right, that was the phase 1 of this. Right, they were just swimming endless. They didn't know where the end was. They were just going to swim to save their life, and they died. Then the next study was they dropped the mice in the water and they swam and swim and swim. And right before they were kind of going to give up and drown, they picked the mice up, set them down, and let them get some breath. And they put them back in the cup. And the same mice would swim for another 2 weeks. Another 2 weeks. All right, those mice were driven by faith and hope that they were going to get pulled out again. And when you have faith in the work that you're putting in is going to get you to somewhere, It's amazing how less burned out you feel because you have a goal in mind. You have a target in mind. You know that at the other end of this work is relief. And so when detailers and business owners and things like that are just working to pay the bills, and I just got to get an extra dollar in the checking account because I got to pay the power bill and I got to order these products and I got to do this and I got to do that. It's this endless amount of paddling, and you don't feel like you're ever going to get there.
Yeah.
But if you say, I'm doing this because I want to be this,
Yes.
I know that if I do these things, it'll stack up to that. Then the work is not so bad. I bet you burnout doesn't happen nearly as fast as we say it does.
Yeah. And part of that too is like, okay, you talk about the vision, like having a vision board, like this is what my goal is. But the other part of it is I truly believe that it's also affected by the people around you. If you don't have that solid person that's kind of giving you the, hey, let's get this done. This is reminding you that this is your goal, whether it be your wife, your friends, whoever it is. Like if you surround yourself with that type of person, you're going to become that burnout type of person. Like you get the person that's why do all you do is work, and isn't it tough to work, and isn't it tough to do this, and pretty soon you start believing that. So I mean, I think that's the other part of that is surrounding yourself with people around you that believe in your goal, believe in you, and that you're going to accomplish it, and maybe even help you out. It's like your employees, even like your mindset of your employees. When I'm down at your shop is amazing. Like they have the same goal. They're helping you achieve your goal, and in the end, you're helping them with any goals that they have in life. So it goes both ways. But you have to, you really have to be around them type of people.
Yeah. I mean, and everybody has to understand your vision, and you can't be quiet about it. Like you have to cast your vision. So one thing that I do around here is everybody in this building knows where we're going. I don't make any bones about it. Sometimes it's monetary, sometimes it's an achievement, sometimes it's the thing we want to do. But we always have something we're chasing down like our ass is on fire. All right. And because I know that distractions are there all along the way, right? Distractions are everywhere. But if we know that here's where we're going and here's what it's going to take to get there, and we're not going to stop and nobody's going to get in our way until we're there, then those distractions become less and less important, and they will just fall by the wayside. And it's not always perfect. We talked about adversity last week, and things are going to come up. You're going to be sick at some point. You're going to run into roadblocks, and it never fails. When you set a goal and you start working towards something, that's when the shit you swept under the rug for the longest comes out, and you got to get through the mud, and you got to get through that. But having that out there as a target, having where you want to go as an end goal, and then make sure this is something that I'm a little guilty of is moving the target.
Yeah.
Okay, this is something that I'm hyper focused on. That I don't want to keep moving our target where we don't feel like you can win. All right, make sure that it's obtainable.
Right.
Make sure that when you get there, you can recognize it. Now, I'm the first to admit we don't celebrate our wins enough. We don't celebrate our wins hard enough. You and I are the same way, dude. We do big things, and what's the next big thing? What's the next big thing?
Yeah.
We're addicted to progress.
Right.
I mean, really, we are. I mean, both of us are. We're driven. We're competitive. We like that drive.
Yeah.
And it's giving me chills talking about it. But being able to celebrate those wins along the way. Now, you don't want to get caught looking back too far.
Right.
But acknowledgement,
Yeah. No, that's important. I mean, I know we've talked about that too with a lot of the stuff that we've done. Like, hey, let's just promise each other we're gonna go do this, or take 3 days off or whatever. And we're all guilty for that, but it's an addiction that I'm okay with. But that's because that's part of what I've focused on for the last I don't know how many years. And I did see somebody, I won't mention his name, this morning. He had mentioned he was up, I think, at 3 a.m. when I went on to Facebook after my walk. And he was talking about, getting up. He had this, I don't remember, it was a podcast that was playing behind his video of getting up early and making things happen. No excuses, and for a long time, I think it's tough because there's going to be some people that preach about you're working too much and you're going to burn yourself out. So there's just as many people that are telling don't spin your wheels, and keep a vision, and you know, uh, get towards your goal, work towards your goal.
Work harder.
The other side of people that are telling you like, hey, you're just too busy, and so I think ultimately you have to make your own goals, and then, like I said, be around the people that support them, but don't let one failure dictate, like, hey, I can't make this happen, because at that point now you're in survival mode. And survival mode, I think, to me, is when you get the burnout. Um,
Absolutely.
that's the survival mode. You didn't do the process you needed to do to get ahead of survival mode. And sometimes it might be the fact of, I think of it, I'll break it down as detailers. We're going into the winter, and I know we're all going to get the question, like, how do I drive more business? We should have Christy Giovanni on here right now, because all
Yes.
the detailers right now are probably reaching out to him and saying, hey, I'm getting slow. What do I do? And the first thing he will say is, why weren't you advertising in March, April, May, June,
Yeah.
or whatever? And that's my point is, we tend to hesitate and wait until we're burnt out. We're not proactive, as humans. A lot of us, we're not proactive
Or
to
reactive.
we're reactive, and now we're in survival mode half of the time, and then we get burnt out, we get stressed, we get worried, we get whatever at that point. So there's some steps, I think, that you have to do to not get that burnout. Like, you have to put them steps in place. Like, how am I going to, okay, what creates my burnout right now? A lot of it's going to be stress.
Yeah.
So, so then they don't work effectively. They're spinning their wheels during work. They're not efficient with their time, and everything else. So there should be a list of what causes my burnout, and then you have to make another list of how are you going to prevent them items from causing your burnout. And it could be, hey, I'm stressed out because of money, so I feel like I have to work all the time. Why are you stressed out? Like, why are you, because you didn't put anything away in June, July, August, September. You didn't plan for it. We called them the rainy day funds when I was in corporate. Like, we always had rainy day funds. So
Yeah. And I think, procrastination and hesitation, right? I'll do this later, or what kills me, this is what really kills me, is I don't have time.
Yeah.
And that's something that people, when I get asked, well, how do you manage? How do you have time to do all that you do? And it was, I make time to do the things I need to do. And I'm very, deliberate about what I'm doing and what needs to be done, and prioritizing that. Now, a lot of people are just doing it all. Like, I have to do everything. I have to do my marketing. I have to do my collections. I have to do my detailing. I have to do my ordering. You're right, but what are you sacrificing to do those things? Are you getting up a little 30 minutes early to go ahead and handle your post and schedule them out for the day? Or are you waiting until you're polishing the car to think about the post? Then, oh shit, I'm reacting to that.
Yeah.
Now I'm stressed out. Now I'm just working too hard because I can do this when I get off. What are you doing? What are you sacrificing to meet your goal to where you don't feel burned out? If you segmented your day and said, this is the time that I do these things, and I have my day segmented for, KPIs and number and meetings and business and stuff like that, and then I go into my task. This is what I have to do today. And then that way, once I get through those things, I don't have to think about them again until tomorrow. Once I get through my KPIs, once I get through my business meetings, my one-on-ones, I don't have to go back to that conversation until tomorrow.
Right.
We move on, and then it's the next day, and it's very decisive. So, in other words, I'm not just doing this all the time.
Right.
Like, and a lot of people, work harder is probably the thing that's killing everybody the most, because it's not just grind till you die.
Yeah.
It's a targeted approach to your efforts.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about, like, okay, I have to get up half an hour early, maybe, to schedule my posts and everything else, but we also have to get out of the mentality. And it took me a lot of years. Like, like, I thought, like, hey, I have to mow my own lawn. I have to do this. I have to change my own oil. I have to, I thought that I was saving money, but what I didn't realize is I could hire the mechanic. I could hire the lawn care person. And yeah, it might cost me $100, but for me to go home and do that, it might take me 2 hours, 3 hours. And what can I do my business for them additional 2 or 3 hours?
Absolutely.
Right. So a lot of that's self-inflicted at that point. Like, you're self-inflicted. You have to realize, like, you do what you're best at, and then you hire somebody that's good at doing what you've done in your business, so.
I'll speak to something that I think will resonate with you very well. Is we all like to complain. Everybody calls us with the same problems, right? You get a lot of phone calls with, how do I do this? How do I put this, install this product? Hey, I'm having this issue. What do I do? What do I do? We have this in the software world where like we solve the same problem a million times. How hard would it be to set up a screen record or to set up a recording and say, with this feature, this is how you use it. And when it does this, this is what you should do. And you make a minute-long video of your most commonly answered questions. And then when that person texts you and says, hey, Mike, I want to jump on a call about Kenzo. And you say, no problem, but watch this 1-minute video first.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have effectively, you're still communicating with that customer. We don't want to lose the connection.
Right.
We don't want to lose the problem solve, but can we solve a problem with a simple video, some time that I spend, and eliminate the 90% of this question I'm answering? I hear that all the time. I'm answering the same dumb questions every day. Well, who's dumb?
Right.
The person asking the question, or you continuing to answer it every day without solving the problem?
Yeah, 100%.
And look, I'm speaking to myself because software, we do this every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, people don't know how to create a customer. Why wouldn't we have a video showing them how to create a customer?
Right.
Like, that's the simplest thing we do.
Yep. Yep. And then it even goes a little bit further as humans. Like we sometimes we want the quick answer cheat. We want to cheat, right? I think of like and not for example, like IGL with our scan code, our QR codes, like everything's there, like the prep, the whatever. And that I'm just using that as an example. That's human nature. Like we always want we've come to the point where we don't know how to problem solve a lot of times on our own. We like to collaborate with others and everything, which is great. But I think for us to be successful business people, we need to be able to figure that out on ourselves, and then there's always your mentors and your ambassadors and whoever else that can help you get on the right path if you still can't figure it out. But I've gotten to the point where a lot of people, when they call, I'll just be like, have you looked at the QR code just to read through it? Because it's a good baseline. And some of them have videos too, like what we're talking about. There's some videos on some of them. So I think that's something that we all have to work on is making sure that we're doing everything in our power to become better. Because when we take the shortcut, we never learn how to become better,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
that's part of it,
When you're given the answers for the test, you don't really know the answers.
The why.
Yeah, the why. And Google was probably our worst enemy in that sense, because we can go type in a question without doing any research and get 100 answers, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then I can speak through it. Google Maps was the worst thing that was ever introduced to me. It's the best thing, but it's the worst thing. I have completely forgotten how to drive. Completely forgotten how to self-navigate. I really have.
We can't even run without Strava
or
what.
Strava. Yeah, think about it. Yeah. And so like this information that's at our fingertips sometimes serves us not so great, because it's you don't think through it, and you're not solving those problems and then learning and retaining. You're just reverting back to that. So calling you for an answer versus scanning the bottle and reading through for myself, or trying something for that matter,
Yeah.
And this inaction, I've been preaching on this, and I'll just go ahead and tie it into this thing is, everybody wants to talk about something and ask the questions. Nobody really wants to do anything right now.
Yeah.
And I think that inaction is probably our biggest struggle with people coming into the workforce. And everybody's got the next greatest idea, but not many people want to dig the hole, And I think that digging the hole, you find so much value in, because you're solving problems and you figure out how to dig the hole better. And next thing you know, you got a better tool. Next thing you know, you got people helping you dig the hole. And next thing you know, the hole turns into a long ditch, and you get to your goal. And I'm not going to turn completely into this soapbox that I'm on, but I promise you, I'm not getting off on it for a while. But ideas are a dime a dozen, man, and they're shit without action. And I think that I hear people tell me the next best thing all the time. Here's what we should do, and I'm guilty of it too. Is I don't want to hear that anymore. I don't want to hear that in my life. I want to hear what are you doing to get that done, and I'm trying to change the way I am and stuff. Not be this idea generator, but this momentum starter.
Yeah. So what about there is truly burnout at some point too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that to me is a true burnout is where you've done all the steps, but you're just taking on too much and not relying on your team that you have. If you don't have a team behind you.
Sure.
So for example,
well, most of our view is
9 businesses.
Team. Yeah. So let's do that.
So like if you have 9 businesses and you tried not to ever have an employee to help you, obviously you're going to have severe burnout, right? So one is if you're at that point of having actual burnout, like you went through the steps, and it's like, no, like I'm literally have way too much task on. At that point, now it's time to surround ourselves with the employees and the people that can help you with that burnout, right? So there is, I don't want anybody thinking here like, hey, there's never a burnout, because there will be a burnout someday. Like if you take on too much tasks and you just don't have enough time for, like I said, you have 9 businesses, and all of a sudden, if you just tried to do that yourself all the time, trying to work 9, it can't happen. At that point, you need to sit back and be able to allow the individuals that you have in place to run the companies and just kind of check in on them, right? So if you're a detail shop, maybe it's having maybe you're getting taken away from the projects all day long because you don't have a CRM or you don't have an office person, whatever it may be. So maybe it's, hey, real quick, I can implement something. I think that's another part that we have to evaluate.
Yeah, and let's be real about it. Burnout is real. And like you said, it does. But what are you doing to solve it? Like, what are we going to go do? Lay on the couch for 2 weeks?
Right.
What's your solution? The solution be figure out what it is that's causing you that stress and anxiety and that feeling of non-accomplishment, and then figure out a way to get back to that where you feel those wins. I truly believe burnout happens when I don't think it's work related. I just don't I think that we can work way harder than we probably do.
Right.
Okay, we're all in this 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 9 to 7. Got to have 8 hours of sleep. Got to have dinner and blah blah blah. Reality is humans are designed. They're machines and they're designed to work like that. That's survival, right? But the problem is you got to catch the fish every now and then. You gotta get the win. If you fish nonstop and you don't catch anything, you're going to be tired of casting. But if you fish nonstop and you catch a fish, all of a sudden you got a little bit more energy now. Oh, well, that works. I can eat now, And so make sure like that the win, like how I get there. If I'm answering the phones nonstop and that's what's burning me out, my phone's taking off the hook.
What are you going to do about it?
What am I doing to solve that problem? What can I put into place? What is my win? Is it let my wife, my sister, my brother, my friend hire an office assistant, hire an admin assistant to take over some of that? Maybe it's setting off a period of time in the evening where I don't field those phone calls. That's a big thing for you and I. From 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., we don't answer phone calls, or don't engage with our phones. And that time has been a reliever of stress for me. So, all right, here we go. Pulling yourself out of the labor to focus more on the business. Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that.
That's what I was trying to get to. Is at that point, you have to pull yourself out, and you have to have people that will do the labor, and you focus on your goal at that point.
Yeah, having the bird's eye view of what's going on, being able to step back and analyze what you're doing right, but more importantly, what are you doing wrong? What could you do better? What could you be more efficient at? What could you do bringing in more help? Like if you brought in more help, where would that be? Like kind of analyze from a 30,000 feet view your business and say, where am I most effective and where am I least effective? Yeah. And because a lot of us, like, we just want to do it all. Nobody can do it as good. Like, we're all guilty. Nobody can do it as good as me. Like, that's just the way we feel, right? But that's like you can't take it all on yourself. And if you want to grow a business and expand, you've got to be able to pass off tasks and know that they're going to fuck it up.
Yeah. And a good, we won't get into it today. It might be another week. But going into the slow season, what helps with all this that I used to always do is doing SWOT analysis.
I know. Yeah.
Your strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats. And when you can do that, that really helps you evaluate yourself, your business, your team, all that type of stuff. And so that's a good, like, for anybody listening, I really encourage SWOT analysis. I think it's amazing what it will do for you and your team. So,
listen, I'm looking at this text right now. So our retail manager, we were at an event all weekend, and I mentioned to her I wanted her to do a SWOT analysis. I knew she didn't know what it was, and so she texted me yesterday. She says, "I want to read you this if I can find it quickly." She says, "Oh, what is the Shrimp Fest overview sheet you want me to work at? You called it something fancy." So I said, "It's a SWOT analysis." And I ended up spelling it wrong. I spelled it SWAT. Well, then I get an email, and I'm going to tell you what it was. And it was a SWOT analysis. And, it was broad, but she went and did the thing. And then to see what she saw as our strengths and our weaknesses and our opportunities. And what was the T? I'm sorry, Mike.
Right.
What she saw it just immediately started generating ideas for me. And so we're going to talk about that in our meeting after this live. But that analysis, to be able to look at yourself with a magnifying glass, say, what did I do great and what did I suck at, is an awesome opportunity for you to just get better.
Yeah, and really, if you're a 4-man show or a 2-man or by yourself, everybody in your company should do that. Like, that way, and then you sit down in a meeting, you bring in lunch, you sit down and you go through this. Everybody goes through their SWOT analysis. And because some of the things that you as an owner are the only ones that can supply something that might be a weakness or a threat to that employee. And it's not about money or anything. Typically it's like, hey, I can't get my job done in the shop because I share the vacuum with Fred over in bay number 2. So that's the type of stuff that comes to life because out of the meetings, because we don't realize as owners, sometimes we sit back and we're relying on our employees, So it's a great technique or a tool to do like once a year. Now is usually the time you'll do it. It slows down and you prepare for January 1st. Like, hey, these have to be in place by January 1st.
Love it. All right, wrapping it up. Burnout. If you had to give somebody one solid piece of advice to get themselves out of burnout or to avoid burnout, what would that be?
Just own it. No, I think just again, you have to analyze everything that is causing you burnout. You have to list it because otherwise it becomes an excuse in my eyes. Like at that point, like I'm burnt out. Well, why are you burnt out? Like what caused you to burnout? And then from there, let's make some tasks of how we're going to get rid of that. How we're going to eliminate some of that burnout, that whatever's creating the burnout.
Yeah, what are we going to move?
So,
so mine's similar. It's understand what a win looks like. As small as that may be, if you feel like you're chasing the never ending, and maybe you got some credit card built up, but pay off the credit card, like work towards paying off the credit card. Now you're working to generate money to achieve a goal. Yes. And I think to be able to set something out there where you shoot at it nonstop, it distracts you from this never-ending feeling of work, right? It gives you a reason for what you're doing. And when you have a reason, I promise you burnout is much more further away than it is when you're working endlessly and you just feel like, man, I've just got to do this forever. This is like, if I have an end goal, then I have something I'm working towards. And when I have something, if I have a set miles that I'm running to, I know I can run those miles. But if it's endless, I can't run but a few.
Yep.
All right, man. Great topic.
That's right. So, just real quick, SEMA's coming up, guys. So if you're coming to SEMA, make sure you come by the IGL booth on the West Hall. You'll see a lot of the other suppliers over in that West Hall. So if you're in the detailing world, that's where you want to be, is in the West Hall, to come visit all of us. All your ceramic coating and polishing and all that type stuff, all that Roop is and Flex and all your coating companies, they'll be in that West Hall for the most part.
Yeah, you know, in our booth, we'll have Kyung and his team. We'll have some of the other distributors there. You know, I think Mike talking, you know, deep dives about product and product solutions, and myself talking about business and how you can improve business. You know, that you got the perfect combination here. I'll pat ourselves on the back a little bit of what we feel like can really help these guys solve problems. And you know, Mike, you've said it a million times. We don't, you know, yes, we want all your business, but we don't have to have all your business. We probably have a product that will solve a problem that you don't currently have right now, but you won't know until you come talk to us. Yeah. And then, you know, I just love talking business. I know about the products. I know how to install. I have a detail shop right outside my office here, and I meet with my guys every morning. I worked in a hands-on for years. I'm not naive or dumb to that, but my forte is in the business side of things, and I like to have that conversation more, just like you have the technical aspect, and and you like that conversation more. So that's where we're going to be conversating on. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good time. So
here we go. I'd love for you to hear. I'd love to hear you guys discuss the business side of detailing, because I believe a lot of detailers have mastered their craft. They're not able to sell their service. You know, dude, let me tell you. And here's why. It's because most detailers didn't start as a businessman. They started out as a hobbyist. They started out just cleaning their own stuff. They got good at it, and they're like, hey, I can make $1 at this. And so they're not businessmen going into it. They're detailers trying to run a business, and not businessmen trying to run a detailing, operation.
And for those that are watching that are interested, I mean, that's something that Dustin and I will be having more of in 2025, I guess, is we'll have some different classes for that. So to that. So
yeah, let me give you a little business 101 right here. Action trumps idea every day of the week. Action. Do something within your business. Do something. Don't just think about it. Do it. Try it. Learn from it. Do it again. Cool.
Awesome.
Billy Smith, hey, he's got something. He's got a big surprise for you. I'm holding a secret from you that you don't know about, Mike. Yeah,
boy.
It is killing me. It's killing me. But
it's not Vandy's gonna make me breakfast, I bet.
Well, that too. Yeah, he's got a hell of a surprise, and it's killing me inside to not tell.
I'm looking forward to SEMA to see all these. I saw Billy was on here, and Jordan Lee, and not all of them, but some of our ambassadors will be at SEMA. So it's going to be a fun time for the networking. And so for people out there, if you know the ambassadors and that, stop by. Awesome team that we have going. So
love it, man. Great talking to you as always, Mike. Appreciate it. And we'll see you guys live next week, but I'll see you, or I'll be talking to you in a few hours, I'm sure.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
See ya.